Hello everyone, my name is Sirian, and on a very special video today I have Ante and Daniel from Croteam, and we're going to be talking about the Talos Principle in VR. So how are y'all doing today?
Pretty good actually.
Hey Sirian, thank you for having us.
Thank y'all for coming on, that was really awesome. So how do y'all feel after two versions of the Talos Principle being released in almost a week's time, the iOS version and the VR version?
We feel dead and exhausted. But also very happy and feel that the games are out there.
I messaged, I think, Daniel and said, I didn't even know the iOS version was coming out last week, so that took me by surprise.
Yeah, we actually tried to keep it down low and, surprise everyone. We thought it was best. We'll see.
So we succeeded in surprising.
Yeah, y'all succeeded in surprising me. For anyone that doesn't really know what the Talos Principle is, I'm pretty sure y'all can explain that to them a lot better than I can. So what's y'all kind of short explanation for the game?
I'm not explaining. It's a philosophical puzzler that's all about mystery, so I would prefer to keep it a mystery. If you want to explain it, Danny, then go ahead.
No, that's basically it. That's all you need to know, and then the rest is exploration. You need to find it out and see what it's about for yourself. That's the best way to experience the game, actually.
Yeah, I agree, because there are a couple of spots, even I went replay it last night, and there were some things I missed the first time, and it's just mind-blowing seeing some of the little story elements that come through, that if you just look at it as a puzzler, you'd be very surprised seeing it.
Well, the game is basically a puzzler, and the core game mechanic, solving those puzzles, is really addictive and fun. So the whole narrative of the game, the philosophical nature of things that are being explored, is kind of optional. You could easily miss those pieces. The game doesn't force you to explore them, but if you take care to pursue them and read and hear everything there is, then you're getting even better experience, I would say.
Absolutely, yeah.
Do you agree?
I agree.
That it's an excellent game.
You always need to agree with your boss, so yeah.
I'm not your boss. You don't have to agree with me.
You're older
but
than me.
I'm glad that you think of me as your boss.
Absolutely.
Okay. Sorry for that.
That's okay. So I'm pretty sure you can agree, and a lot of people can agree, the Talos Principle is a very beautiful game. So was virtual reality just in the team's mind when developing the original game, or is that something that kind of came up as a fan request?
I actually mentioned this a couple of times before. When the Talos Principle was first released, we always felt like it was a perfect fit for VR. It was just something that's, kind of slower paced. It's unlike anything really that you can experience in VR. So we always had that in mind. We always felt it would be a good fit, but it took some time before we could actually make it the best VR game that we can make. So we didn't want to do anything that would, compromise the quality by switching it to VR when VR was not ready, or when we weren't, confident that the final product would be just the way we want it to be. So yeah, we always felt it was a good fit, and I believe it's a homecoming moment actually for the Talos Principle. It's my preferred way to play it, so I believe other people will also see it that way.
So out of every version of the game there is on iOS, on PC, on Mac, in VR, you prefer it in VR?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was one thing. It was probably an hour or two whenever I first started the game, I think a year and a half to 2 years ago. I stopped and I was like, this game would be amazing on the headset. So I did some research and saw that there was an original VR version kind of in a Steam branch, but it wasn't working at the time. So I waited patiently until this moment. So what can y'all say about that original test? Like, was it just a test to see how things have gone, or was that the initial steps towards developing the VR title?
Well, it is, as Danny said, we wanted to make this game and experience it in VR. But that was actually the first moment when we got our first headset. So we wanted to play test it and try to build a prototype of the game, but what we had on our hands was a full game. So instead of building a prototype for VR, we just tried to see what would Talos look like in VR, and it looked gorgeous, of course. But we also discovered there are all kinds of problems that we need to overcome and solve for the game to be what it is today.
So y'all first did Serious Sam in VR. Did that help with the development of Talos in VR, or was this kind of like a separate thing?
Well, it was a separate thing, but it definitely helped. Everything we did in Serious Sam VR, we actually used, I mean, the experience we accumulated during the development of Serious Sam VR was used to make Talos a better game. So, for instance, what we found out while developing the game is that many different people react differently to the movements in game and the stuff that happens in the game. So that allowed us to, you know, find a great balance and make the experience in Talos enjoyable. Because the point of Talos is when you get in, you can actually enjoy the world itself. And if you're not having fun, if you're not having a good time physically, if you get sick or if anything like that happens, you won't be able to have fun. So that definitely helped. We developed different movement systems and stuff that makes that allows people to set their game up so that they're very comfortable. So when they find the perfect, you know, sweet spot, then they can enjoy the game. So definitely, Serious Sam definitely helped with developing Talos.
Mind if I jump in?
Absolutely.
What we have learned is that there is no perfect way for moving in VR. It's just a lot of people with a lot of different setups and preferences. So we decided that we are going to build every possible method for moving around the game and hope that we are going to satisfy everybody.
So how many different, in total, how many different forms of movement do y'all have in Talos VR?
It's an infinite number. No one can tell.
Okay, and
if I can jump in, we have 4 presets, and if you're not satisfied with those, there are advanced VR controls where, as Ante said, there are basically infinite number of settings that you can set up. You can adjust your speed or whatever you feel like, you can adjust it there. So yeah, infinite number, but 4 presets.
And have y'all had any worry that maybe someone can use something like the teleport function to kind of glitch through areas or use it to cheat in any way?
Yes, we did, but we found that the game isn't set up so that you have to move around really fast. It's not the arcade game. But we had to fine-tune some of the puzzles to prevent exactly that kind of behavior that you mentioned. There's no cheating in Talos. Sorry.
That's okay. I won't cheat. I promise. Just what were some of the most difficult things with making the Talos Principle work on VR for someone that's completely disconnected from video game development like myself?
For me, it was working with Danny. He's obnoxious at times, but I still love him and respect him as a colleague.
Yeah, well, I guess that's his point of view. It's the same way for me, actually.
Other than that, we had a lot of fun creating a game for VR and creating all of those games for VR.
Okay. So for anyone that already has the game and wants to jump into it in VR, I know price might be an issue for them. So for anyone that wants to make that jump, what kind of new things can they expect?
I mean, it's a different level of immersion. When you play a game on your monitor or a TV set, you just, you know, you can get into it, but it lacks that that moment that when you realize you're actually in that world. And when you play it in VR, it's just something completely different. Even when I played some of the puzzles I went through in the regular version of the game, they always felt fresh. They always felt new because the VR version gave me a different perspective on them. So I know I solved them in a different way, and I approached every single problem I found in a different way. So I believe it's a new experience, even for people who've went through the regular version. When they play the VR version, they're going to get something new, and they're going to get a completely different experience, and that's what I think brings value to the VR version. Also, it's one of the most beautiful games in VR. I mean, I'm not going to be humble or anything. It really is. When you get in, you can just watch the world around you, and you seem like you fit inside that world, and it's fun exploring. So, I mean, it's a unique experience for VR, and I believe it has value, definitely.
See what I mean? He can go on like this for days on.
Well,
but people can expect to be mind blown by VR. I don't mean just with our games, but especially with Talos VR. There were just 2 or 3 moments in our entire careers when we were thrilled by any technology like VR. With VR, the first console, the first 3D graphics card, and now VR.
I can agree with y'all in saying that, well, not only is it the most beautiful game in VR, it's just a very beautiful game, even if you play it on just a desktop. And that's one of the reasons I love the game, just the unique environments, and it's just beautiful.
Thank you for saying that. We're very glad you like it.
And so, well, what are y'all most excited for people to experience when jumping into the Talos Principle in VR for the first time?
Well, for me, it's that moment when there are actually two things. First is that moment when they realize they're a part of that world. As I said, they just get immersed into it. And the second part is that aha moment they're going to definitely have. The part where you get to a certain puzzle and you can't really solve it, you can't wrap your head around it, and then you find a solution, and then you feel like a genius because you did that. And that's what I'm most excited about people seeing in Talos VR.
All right, and what does the future hold for either the Talos Principle or just VR with Croteam?
We'll see what happens. I mean, the Talos Principle is definitely going to get a sequel. We'll see if it's going to be in VR. It's likely that it will be. But yeah, as far as VR goes, we have another release coming up really soon. We're going to talk about it when the time comes. And yeah, that's it.
Well, now that you said Talos is getting a sequel, I'm really excited to see that in the future, and just to see what y'all are going to do in VR in the future.
Yeah, keep it in check because it's not going to be soon. We have another project that's coming on, that's Series M4. So when the Series M4 is out, then we will be ready to share more news about Talos too.
So I'm assuming,
excited about that one as well.
So I'm assuming right now y'all are going to get a little bit of rest since it's been a very chaotic week for y'all.
No rest.
No rest.
No rest for the wicked. We have as I said, we have another VR release coming up this year. So,
oh, it's this year.
Yeah, for this year. Yeah.
Okay, and that has y'all haven't announced any details on that just yet.
No, but it's not that difficult to guess.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think that's it for everything today. Y'all got me really excited about the future and just to play more of the Talos Principle because, like I said, I love the game and I actually started over it last night, so I'm ready to go back through everything and then try it out in VR. So thank y'all so much for coming in for the interview. And it was great getting to know about the game.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.